Namaste. Welcome and Namaste. So today we are going to study the Katha Upanishad. Upanishad study is like a reflection, meditation. It creates a very calm, quiet mind. And it is said, Shabdanuviddha Samadhi. Using words to achieve that state of meditation. So Upanishad words will help us to achieve that state of meditation, self-realization. So we know the Upanishads are dealing with consciousness, self, happiness, health, human flourish. These are the concerns of the Upanishad. And we all are concerned about it. We want health, we want happiness, we want to flourish. And we are conscious beings. So Upanishad is an enquiry into these matters, let us say. But Upanishad also says human beings suffer from a cognitive limitation, biologically determined cognitive limitation. He says, Paranchikani vadruna swayambhu. This is how we have been created, with a cognitive defect, limitation. That we can see only what is in front of us. We cannot see what is behind us, beneath us, around us. What is in front we can see. Paranchikani vadruna swayambhu. That God has created us like that. We don't have the hindsight. Because we don't have the hindsight, we don't have the foresight also. We act impulsively. Think impulsively. That's our biological limitation. Unless we discipline ourselves, we will not be able to break out of this boundary or this limitation. Even in science, physical science, we talk about all our enquiries are limited by the speed of light. 360,000 kilometers light travels in a second, isn't it? Our inquiry is limited by that. Beyond that we cannot go. Or the intervention of photons limits our inquiry. Similarly, the Upanishad warns us that there is a certain cognitive, biologically determined limit. And we must be aware of that. And we have to break out of that. That is possible only by disciplining the mind and the body and the intellect. Otherwise, we will not be able to break out of this limitation. So even our greatest scientists are suffering from this limitation. They are not immune to this limitation. So we should be humble enough to understand this. So the Upanishad says, Paranchikani vadruna swayambhu tasmat param pashyadi nandaratman kaschid dhiraha pratyagatmanam ichat avrutta chakshuhu amrudatvam icchan. So knowing this limitation, some people start disciplining themselves. So that's why we talk about yoga, pranayama, Viveka. Viveka means the ability to distinguish between what is real and what is unreal. If we begin with that understanding, there is something called real and unreal. Dhruvam and adhruvam. Dhruva and adhruvam. Dhruva means what is infinite, what is complete, which is the meaning of health, happiness. Adhruva means the limited things. So through the limited, you can never reach the unlimited. The unlimited is a given thing, not a produce. You cannot produce it. Since it is a given thing, we have to know it by a leap of faith or through a dialogical enterprise. We have to engage in a dialogue with our gurus, wise people, enlightened people. Then alone we can break out of this limit. But we arrogant people, we don't discipline ourselves. Or we don't have the humility to do that. To sit at the feet of a master and engage in a conversation. We are not able to do that. Nor are we able to listen to the inner whispering of the self. So Upanishad wants us, this particular Upanishad, Katha Upanishad. So Katha Upanishad belongs to the southern branch of the Vedas. Yajurveda, southern branch of the Yajurveda. We have Yajurveda has got two branches, South Indian branch and North Indian branch. South Indian branch is called the black Yajurveda. North Indian branch is called the white Yajurveda. So these Upanishads belong to the South Indian branch of the Yajurveda. And the Upanishads got 6 chapters, divided into 2 sections, and have about 119 mantras. Pretty long Upanishad. The other 2 Upanishads which we saw previously, they were short Upanishads. This is a pretty long Upanishad. It takes months and months to describe the whole thing. Study the whole thing. We are trying to put it in 1 hour. So you have to be very, 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 very alert to understand this. So paranchikani. So let us be aware of that. We need certain discipline, yoga, pranayama, viveka, and all that. Some humility to understand this. And therefore the Upanishad says, there is this very, very famous mantra in this Upanishad. Uttishtada jagrada prapyavaran nibodada churasya dhara nishida duratteya durgam patastad kavayo vadandi. Uttishtada, stand up. Now you are lying down. Stand up. Wake up. Because sometimes we wake up but we don't stand up. We still are in the bed. So the Upanishad says, first you stand, get out of the bed, roll out of the bed. Then rub your eyes. There is so much to know in front of you, behind you, beneath you, above you. Don't be confined to your little self, little ego self. You have to break out of this, like a butterfly breaks out of its pupa state. So much to do in this life. Therefore it says, stand up, wake up, uttishtada, jagrada, prapyavaran nibodada. Go to those great enlightened people. Or at least listen to your own inner whisper. And then realize your real self, real nature, which is happiness, which is health, which is power, which is love, which is beauty. It is all there within you. And you fool, you are going around with a begging bowl. Make me healthy, make me happy. It is all within you. So therefore the Upanishad says, Uttishtada, Jagrada. Stand up, wake up. Prapyavaran, approach those people. Look around. Relax, take a breath. Don't be in the rat race. Because you'll continue to be the rat till the end of the day. You'll never become a cat, I tell you. So take a breath, relax. Where are you heading? Don't you see the abyss in front of you? Hold back. Tutishtada jagrada prapyavaran nibodhada. So Upanishad says, since we have this cognitive limit, we have to engage ourselves. We have to interact. We have to engage in a conversation. This Upanishad is a conversation. It's framed in the background of a conversation between a 12-year-old boy, Nachiketas. 12-year-old. He's not started even shaving. Anagadas mashruhu, he says. That's Nachiketa, who left home. Or his father pushed him out of home. Because your questions are too much for me. You're too much for me. I cannot handle you anymore. I have given you the wings, now get out. So Nachiketa, the 12-year-old boy, engages in a conversation, dialogue with the Yama. Yama means the Lord of Death. So you can put it in a philosophically, you can put it as a conversation, dialogue between life and death. And unless we go through death, the darkness of death, you will never know the depth of life. You have to go through the dark chamber of death. At least through imagination. We have to embrace death, engage in a conversation. Most of us are trying to run away from death. And the more you run away, the death will follow you. Like your shadow. So now it is time for us to wake up, grow up, and take death by the horns, as they say. Our main problem is death, disease, loneliness, meaninglessness, purposelessness. So one has to embrace death through imagination. Go through that process. What happens? What happens after death? So it's a conversation between Nachiketa, this 12-year-old boy, the whole Upanishad is a conversation, and Lord Death, Yama. So Nachiketa observed his father. Father was very rich. And he was performing a yajna called Vishwajit. So in India, in the hermetic tradition, there is a saying that the more you go up, the more you have to give up. The more you climb the ladder of life, social life, let us say, the more you have to give up. Like even climbing a hill. The lamb on the hill. To climb the hill. As you climb, you have to give up your load, isn't it? Otherwise, you cannot climb up. You get tired, exhausted. So the Upanishad, the Vedic wisdom says, as you go up in the social ladder, as you go up in age, you start giving up. And the state comes, you are completely free. You are completely dispossessed. So some of the kings like Raghu in the solar dynasty and Yudhishthira in the lunar dynasty, we have stories. The Raghu, after conquering the whole Aryavarta, the whole India, then he gives up everything. And where just a dhoti around him, and walks out barefoot. And there is a great freedom. First you conquer the world, then you conquer the self. Similarly, Yudhishthira, after winning the war of Mahabharata, ruling over 36 years, one day he suddenly put out the fire, removes all his golden robes, without shoes, barefoot, he walks out. That requires a lot of courage. But if we say, I am very old and that I am tired and dilapidated, I need more comforts. No, you're ready. You're ready to give up. When you give up, you nurture and nourish the soul that you are. When you possess, you are dousing the spirit of the soul. So his father was, following that tradition, let me give up. But still, he has got inner fear. If I give up, what will happen? So superficially, he is performing this yajna called Vishwajit, of giving up everything. So he was a rich man, many cows and horses and many kitchens where he served people. So now he is performing this particular yajna where he has to give up everything. Ushanhave Vajashravasa. His name was Vajashravas. He is giving up. But there is that bug of a desire in him. Therefore, in the yajna, you have to give up mainly, those days, wealth means cows. So he is distributing cows. After the end of the yajna, he is distributing cows to poor people, to Brahmins, to scholars and all that. But he kept the good cows with him. He gave up all old, useless, barren cows. Pidodagaha, Jagdatrinaha, Dugdadohaha, Nirindriyaha, Anandanamate Logaha, Tan Sagachati Tan. He was giving up cows which are old, who cannot give even a drop of milk, cannot eat a blade of grass, cannot carve, such cows. So Nachiketa saw that. My father is a hypocrite. Because he says something, he is doing something else. That is what is meant to be a smart man. Don't we say that? Be smart. What is smartness? Living a hypocritic life. Saying something and doing something else. And we all are like that. So he is supposedly performing yajna where he has to give up everything and nurture and nourish himself. But he keeps these cows and gives away all old cows. Nachiketa goes up to his dad. And the full assembly, everybody is praising his dad. Everybody, all the TV cameras are there. Because he is giving away. Then Nachiketa goes, and Dad, what about those good cows? Why are you giving away these old cows? Father ignored him once, twice, thrice. And when he insisted, he pulled his dhoti and insisted. Then father got angry. He said, to hell with you. Actually, Nachiketa asked, whom are you giving me? I am also your possession. You must give me also away. That is what he asked. Kasmin, to whom are you giving? So father got very annoyed and he cursed him. He said, to hell with you, get lost. Mrityave tuam dadami, I am going to give you to death. In anger he said it. He didn't mean it. After all, he is his son. And his argument is, I am doing it for you. Nachiketa says, don't do it for me. Don't put me in that trap. That's your problem. Your insecurity. You are only taking my name. I am least interested in that. So when you utter a word and a sentence or say something in a yajna-shala, then you have to carry it out. Nachiketa says, Dad, I know you said in anger that you are giving me to death. So I am going. I am leaving. I am leaving home. This is very, very painful. But otherwise, unless you leave home, your comfort zones, your securities, you will never know the truth. So he leaves home. He leaves home in search of Yama, the Lord of Death. He reaches Yamaloka, it seems. Don't ask me how did he reach. Don't ask me that. That you have to find out. You have to find it out in your own way. You have to grab death in your own way. I will do it in my own way. And I have done it also. Nachikéta leaves home. He walks into uncertainty, into darkness, into the land of death, without any fear. Because when you are a truth seeker, you cannot be afraid of things. So the story says, he reaches Yamaloka. But Yama was on duty. He is traveling. He was traveling. He was not in station. He was not in his house, in his office. So Nachikéta stood there 3 nights and 3 days without drinking even a drop of water or eating anything or sleeping. These 3 days seems to be very spiritually significant. Christ was on the cross for 3 days. After 3rd day he awakened. So to Nachikéta stood there in front of the palace. Whereas the palace people said, please come, sit down and I'll give you a room and then eat and let Yama come back. Then you can have a talk with him. Nachikéta said, nothing doing. I want to see Yama. I don't want any comforts now. 3 nights, 3 days, he stood there. Because otherwise, if you enjoy all the comforts, you will forget. You will forget why did you come here, isn't it? So he didn't want to. He is so focused. After 3rd day, the Yama comes back. So there is a saying that when a brahmachari or a sannyasi or a scholar comes to your house as a guest, you must treat him very well. Give him food, a bed, and some comforts. Otherwise, all the punya that you have earned will be destroyed. You will become sick and your house will be on fire. This may be the Brahmanic strategy to feed themselves or take care of themselves, whatever it is. I don't want to go into that political problem. But there is a saying that when a brahmachari, seeker of truth, or a Brahmin or a scholar, or even a guest, ordinary guest, comes to your house, you have to treat him well. So the staff of Yama said, please take all this, please come and sit. Nachikéta said, no. Look at the clarity of this boy, the seriousness of this boy. He doesn't want to take any favors. He has come for a purpose, and unless he fulfills that purpose, he won't rest. Like Hanuman was jumping into Lanka, why don't you sit for some time, rest for some time? He said, no, I must fulfill my purpose, then I'll rest. So Yama comes back after 3 days, and Yama was sad. He said, my God, you were here for 3 days without eating, without taking rest. I am sorry. Please don't curse me. I'll give you 3 boons, Yama says. Ask of me 3 boons. Because Yama was very much impressed by this boy, his seriousness, his commitment. Ask of me 3 boons. So the whole story begins from there. How Nachikéta chooses these boons very carefully. Boons like a check. like a check to be encashed. Amount you can write. That's the boon. You can ask anything. And Yama is obligated to fulfill that. So the first boon, Nachiketa said, my father may be very unhappy now. He may not be sleeping. He may be thinking about me. At least let him be peaceful, at peace. Because when your only son walks out of home, maybe in search of truth, what about? Father is anxious, father feels responsible. So please send a telegram or something, in the modern language, so that father feels comfortable. He can sleep. So Yama said, doesn't matter. I'll take care of that. So you see the hierarchy of values. The first value is family. The integrity of the family. You should make your parents happy, but not by compromising. You must pursue, but let your parents feel comfortable. You are on the right path. So let my family be okay. My parents, my mother may be very much worried, my father may be worried. So please make them comfortable. First value is the integrity of the family. But not by forgetting your values or your pursuit. Just pray for them at least. Just pray for them. Let my father and mother be comfortable and happy, because that is what they are bringing me up for. They brought me up, gave me education to pursue the truth, to serve the world, to know what it is all about. So tell them, it's all right. Yama said, I'll take care of that. And the second boon, Nachiketa said, I heard about that there is a life after death. I heard about that. See, yeyam prede vichikissa manushe asti tyege nayam asti dichaige edad vidya manushishtastoyaham varanam esha varastrudiyah. So I heard about that there is something beyond the body, mind, ego complex. I'm not sure about that. There's something beyond. Beyond the body, mind, ego complex. And that which is beyond, what you call that self, beyond the body, mind, ego complex, survives the death of the body. I heard that. And there is a big debate going on in the community about that. Even today the debate is there, isn't it? Most of the scientists believe the self is a product of the brain processes. Interaction between the genes and the environment. The self is a byproduct. Consciousness is a byproduct. When the body disintegrates, consciousness disappears. The self dissolves. There's nothing beyond that. That's why we are mortally afraid of death. Nobody wants to die because we are mortally afraid, because we have been bought into this idea that our self is a byproduct of the brain processes. There's nothing beyond that. It is all emptiness, darkness. So this is the materialistic conception of life and self and happiness. So your idea of happiness also is different. Your idea of happiness is indulgence. The more I consume, the better I am, isn't it? But you don't know. The more you consume, the more you are consumed. That we don't know. The more you consume, the more you are consumed. Your health suffers, your environment suffers. You create so much inequality in the world, violence in the world. So one idea of the self is the materialistic idea of the self. It is a byproduct, it is an epiphenomenon. After death, there is nothing left. That is one section of people, Nachiketa says. Another section of people say, There is something beyond it. So I ask you this question. My question is that between these two positions, which is the true position? Which is the truth? So Yama says, you're right. There is something beyond the body, mind, ego complex. Which is not, this is very subtle and invisible. So he says, Yama says, Dehendriya manobuddhyatita dehandara sambandhi jivatma asti. There's a jivatma, it's called the jivatma, which lives in this body, mind, ego complex. So this body, mind, ego complex, as God said, like a puri, so city. Look at the imagery of Yama. The body, mind, ego complex is like a city. In the city lives the Atman, the Jiva. So puram ekadashadwaram majasya vakrachetasaha. There's someone who lives in this city with the ekadashadwaram. The city has got 11 gates. Very interesting. This 11-gated city, the body, mind, ego complex. What are the 11 gates of the city? 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils. 6, isn't it? 2, 2, 6. 1 mouth. 7. Anus. 8. Urinary tract. 9. 9 are permanently open. One is the fontanelle here, when you touch. And the other is Nabhi, through which you, in the womb state, you had contact through the Nabhi. These are the 11 gates, so to say, in which we are living. Look at the imagery, the model that Yama is giving you. So, and you are living. Puram ekadashadwaram ajasya vakrachetasaha. So you are the Raja, that immortal self, living in this body. And the self is this self living in this body. Angushta matra purushaha, he says. You can say this purusha is the size of an angushta, is a thumb. Thumb is very important in the phalanx, isn't it? These fingers cannot function without the thumb. So he gives the example of a thumb. This purusha is of the size of a thumb, or the importance of the purusha is that of a thumb. Without that, nothing can function. These are all metaphors, imageries Yama is giving. Angushta matra purusha. Andaratma sada jananam hrudaye sannivishtaha. And that you have to understand by a process of discrimination. Shanda sharirat pravruhed munchadiva ishigam. Like you remove the pith from a stem of the stem, you remove the pith. Like a plantain tree, you can remove the pith from the stem, from the outer layers, and you can eat it also. Similarly, we must give attention to that pith, which is surrounded by these layers of personalities. Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, etc. Physical, physiological, emotional, intellectual, and ego personalities. One has to go deep into that. That is your nature. So this is called the Jivatma. This Jivatma, when the body disintegrates, moves to another body or gathers another body around it. That movement is very difficult to explain, obviously. Gathers another body. So here Yama answers this question, Yayam prade vichikissa manushe. Is there anything beyond, in the positive? In the positive. Because for our inquiries will not take you there. That's because there is a limit. What is called ignorance. So we need some advice. some teaching, some discipline. So one has to separate, or in understanding one has to separate viveka buddhya, that viveka, atma, vivekena, one has to understand there is something which is beyond, which is called the jivatma. It is this jivatma who goes from body to body depending upon your karmas. That's why yoni madhye prabhadyante sharirattvaya dehinaha sthanumanyenu samyadi yatha karma yatha shrudam. Depending upon your karma and your intentions. Because your actions are determined not only by gross action but the intentions behind it. That's very important. For example, I can take a knife and stab you and I'll be put in the prison for that. But a doctor, a physician, a surgeon takes a knife and stabs you, cuts you, then he gets paid for that, isn't it? You have to pay through your nose, but he will get a handsome pay. Even the operation fails, he'll get paid because the intention is more important, not just the physical act. Physical act also is important, but intention is more, the motive behind is more important. When a mother slaps the baby, everybody appreciates, isn't it? But if you slap the baby, then you will be taken for child abuse. Intention is very, very important. So it is the size of the angushta, that's just a thumb is important in the phalanx. This Atman is very important. And it is living in this city with the 11 gates. And it also says, how does the self live when you die? Shadam chayega hrudayasya natya, he says. There are thousands and thousands of nadis that radiate from the heart. The heart is a philosophical heart, not just this heart. And through those nadis, your life energy flow. There is one nadi going up. Ega hrudayasya nadyaha tasam murdhanam abhinad. That nadi touches the fondinal, the Brahmarandra. And if you lead a disciplined life, not an emotional, impulsive life. Disciplined life means you get up in the morning, do some prayer, do some yoga, meditation, and upasanas and all that. If you do that, not just impulsive life, eating and drinking and fighting and mating and dying. A disciplined life. If you do that, at the time when the body disintegrates, your jivatma goes through that nadi, one nadi. We call Atma nadi. And then go to the higher loga. Surga loga, he says. What a beautiful imagination, isn't it? It's a beautiful imagination. You go to Surga loga. Otherwise, your Atman will be going through the mouth or the anus or through all other parts. And where will you reach? Where will you reach? Sthanamanyenu samyandi. You become a mosquito or a pig or a crocodile or whatnot. Very interesting. Look at the network of life. Your great-grandfather may be living as a crocodile now. Who knows? Or your great-grandmother may be living as a mosquito now. Who knows? So when you catch a mosquito and rub it and blow it off, be awareful, maybe your grandmother. So that makes you empathize with the whole universe, isn't it? Everything has got a life. These days they call it panpsychism. Everything has got a life. So you become more non-violent, more compassionate, more empathetic as a result of that. So either it can go through the fontanelle or through other, and you go to various lokas, take various lives. Sthanumannenu samyanti. Yatha karma yatha shrudam. Depending upon your actions, punya papa, good and bad actions, the attitude behind it, when the body disintegrates, you go to various lokas, he says. So that's how. And very interestingly, the Sargaloka is defined here. What is Sargaloka? Sarge loge bhayam kinjanasti natatratvam najaraya vivedi Ubhetirtvashanaya pibase shokadigo modade sargaloge. Have you heard anybody defining sargaloga? He says, in sargaloga, sargaloge bhayam kinjanasti. As long as you are in sargaloga, there is no fear. There's no fear. Fear of death, basically. Fear of death or old age or disease, it's not there. You are eternally young there. You never cross 21 or 18. That's the limit. Beyond that, you don't go. Your body is always fresh as a flower. Is it not interesting? Is it not interesting? Is it not what we try in this world now? By, taking all kind of medicines or boosters, and what are you trying to do to keep your youthhood? You want to be physically young. But in Sargaloka, there is no old age, no disease, no death. As long as you are in Sargaloka. No loneliness. Because why no loneliness? All the time dancing and all that is there. Drinking and dancing and Urvashi, Rampa, Talatama, all those people. Gandharvas. That is Sargaloka. Okay, should I have to pay for all this? No, it's all free. Because you already prepaid. You prepaid for doing good deeds in this world and meditations, etc. But the meter runs very fast there. It's all prepaid. As long as you are there, you're okay. Sarge loge bhayam kinjanasti natatrattum jaraya vivedi, no old age. Ubhetirtu ashanaya pibese. No hunger, no thirst. So all the time you can enjoy. Otherwise you have to eat and then cook and wash the dishes and go to the toilet, isn't it? You don't have to do any of this. All the time enjoying, watching TVs and dance and then whatnot. Is it not your ideal, sir? Tell me. That is what we want, all of us. No work. All the time, entertainment. So this is heaven, Yama. Yama is trying to make you walk through all this. Walk through all this. It's a kind of walking through. After death, going to heaven or going to all these various other places, depending upon what you do, walk through all this. When Nachiketa heard all this, he said, okay, at least my people will be interested in all this. Therefore, tell me, how do I reach? How do you reach this heaven? This is called Agni Vidya, the fire knowledge. Agni Vidya. Sargyam Agnim. Nachiketa says, tell me that, give me that knowledge, whereby I can reach heaven. Or if not me, but my people. My people can reach. So Yama teaches him the Agni Vidya, the fire knowledge. Fire is very important in this human civilization. All our comforts depends upon fire. After discovering fire, we could cook our tasty meals. We could heat our homes. The fire is very, very important. Whether it is fossil fuel or some other fuel is very, very important. Fire is very, very important. First it was wood, then it was coal, now it is gas or atom or nuclear energy. This energy is very important. Fire is very important. Without this, civilization is not possible. Without these comforts are not possible. So Nachiketa says, teach me that Agni Vidya. In the Greek stories, there is a Prometheus bringing fire from the heavens, and for which Zeus, the great god, got angry. So he put him or tied him to a rock, and vultures pecking at him all the time. Because when you bring fire, you have to pay a price for it, isn't it? When you burn all the coal and all the oil, don't you have to pay for it? In terms of environment and whatnot. So that story is very significant. So similarly, Nachiketa wants to know the Agni Vidya for the sake of the community. So Yama teaches him the fire knowledge, Agni Vidya. What is that fire knowledge is not said in the Upanishad. It is said that Yama taught him that and walked him through that and gave him a description of the heaven, what happens after death, where all we go. When these things were said, Nachiketa said, okay, I have one more question now. I don't feel much impressed by this. This going and coming and good deed, bad deed, past, future. I'm not interested in this. I want something dhruvam, which is beyond good and bad, which is beyond karma and karma bala, which is beyond past and future, which is dhruvam, which is always there. That was his last question. He says, Anyatra dharmad, anyatra dharmad, anyatra asmad kruda krudat, anyatra bhudascha bhavyascha, yattad bhashyadi tadvada, he says. It's a very, very profound question. As one of the Sufi masters said, take me there, which is beyond good doing and bad doing. Because I am torn between the good and the bad. I'm not able to, I'm all the time torn between this. Can I go beyond this? So this question is very, very important in the Upanishads. Anyatra dharmad, anyatra adharmad. Other than good and bad. Anyatra asmat kruda krudad. Other than karma and karma bhala, doing and its outcome. Work and its outcome. Because we are caught up in this work and its outcome. We are always waiting for an outcome. We think I will do this, then I will be happy, isn't it? Are you not happy now? No, I'm not happy. Which is called ignorance. And the more you work, the more you are unhappy, the more you acquire, the more you accumulate. The more you lose your soul, Atman. So, anyatra asmat kruda krudad, the doing and getting, doing and achieving, beyond that. Anyatra bhudascha bhavyascha, the past and the present. We are all the time torn between the past and the future, so that we are not able to live in the present. So beyond all this, the coming and going. All the time we are coming and going restlessly from pillar to post. Either any place beyond all this, where I can pivot to my life and then look at the unfolding drama. That was his question. So that question, yattad pashyadi tadvada. If you have an idea about that, please teach me. I am interested in that, he said. Now I am through this, walking through all this. Now I want to be settled. I hope this is your question also. Other thing we have been through. This is our question also. Is there anything where I can pivot, center my life? When this was asked, Yama got a little upset. Yama never expected this question from Nachiketa, that to this 12-year-old boy. Yama said, these questions, nobody can answer this question. Devayaratrabi vijigisyadam kila. Even gods tried to understand what is beyond. They asked this question and nobody could answer. So why do you waste your time? Even gods cannot answer this question. You are a puny little human being. How will you understand an answer to this question? This is too much. You are biting too much, my dear boy. You are biting too much. Your head will explode. Sometimes, some Upanishads, your head will explode with this question. You're biting too much that you can chew. More than what you can chew. Become gods. So don't waste your time. Don't waste my time, even if I tell you don't understand. Therefore, don't waste my time and your time. So he tried to threaten Nachiketa out of this question. Nachiketa said, if gods also thought about it, could not get an answer, then I want to ask that question. I am more motivated now. Where gods fail, I want to start from there. Where you end, I want to start. So Yama couldn't frighten him out of this question. Then Yama said, why are you worrying about these things? I will make you the emperor of the whole world. And I will give you hundreds of sons who live for hundreds of years. And daughters also. And you can live as long as you want on this world. Shadayusha putra bautran vinishva. He says, Shadayusha putra bautran vinishva. You can ask for all this and all those things I can give you, but don't ask this question. Try to buy him out of this question. Let me put it that way. By giving all these goodies, long life, many children, and lordship of the whole world and all that. Buy him out of this question. Earlier he was trying to threaten him out of this question. Nachiketa did not blink. He didn't blink. Then Yama thought, none of this is working. So I will give you plenty of women, young, beautiful women. Ima, Ramaha, Saradaha, Sadurya. And choices to whiskey I will give you. Isn't it? All those things I can give you. Just to corrupt him. Nothing works in a honey trap. So he says, all these beautiful women I can give you, they will abhihi matpratabihi parijarayasva. Get all kind of services from them. Why not? Nachiketa didn't blink. Nachiketa was very firm. So first he tried to threaten him, scare him. Then he tried to buy him out. Then he tried to correct him. Look at this 12-year-old boy, so clear about his purpose. Most of us will fall for one of these temptations, isn't it? So clear. Nothing can waver him from his chosen path. This is the kind of student I want, Yama says. Yama says, I am really honored today by meeting a student like this. One who can make this kind of questions. Who is so clear about his path and his goal. I am really honored by you, he says. My life is purposeful now. I have been looking for a person like you, Yama says. Because everybody runs away from me. The moment they hear the hoof steps of my buffalo, they run away. But here, you are there in front of me. I am really happy, he says. I want students like you, he says. So, Nachiketa answered, first he answered, Devairatrabi vijigisyadam kila. If the devas, gods also inquired and failed, then I want to take it up. Because this is something which is extraordinary, isn't it? It seems that I alone can do that. Everybody is failed. Second, he says, all this what you offered me many things. They are shvabhavaha. They won't last for even a second. They are all transient things. They wither away in my possession. They are transient. They don't give me the absolute. Shvabhavaha. They don't last for even tomorrow. One thing. Secondly, indriyanam jarayanti chedaha. My ability to enjoy them also will wither away. They also will wither away. I cannot see, I will not be able to see later, hear properly, my skin will become hard. So what is the point? It's all there, but I cannot enjoy them. Like a lavish dinner in front of a person who suffered from fever. He cannot eat anything. Or a music for the deaf. Or a painting for the blind. What will I do? Indriyanam jarayanti tejaha. All these instruments of enjoyment will all wither away. Jivitam abhi alpameva. My life itself is very short. I may live for 90 years. Of the 90 years, most of the time I am sleeping. Isn't it? So, jivitam abhi alpameva. Three things. Whatever I possess will wither away. They are not permanent. My sense organs, my mind will wither away. They lose their strength. My life itself is very short. So all that you have offered is nothing. Not only that, if I am behind this, if I am blinded by this, I will not be able to understand the self, the truth. Vittamohena na sambarayam pradipadi. Because if you are blinded by this sambaraya means what is beyond, what is transcendental, will not be realized. The enlightenment is not possible. Therefore, please don't tempt me. Nanyam vara nachigedo. Tavaiva vaha tavanrutigide. That is the final. You keep all those with you, he says. All the temptation you offered me, keep it with you. Don't try to buy me with all this. Tavaiva vaha tavanrutigide. Let all of them be with you. Don't display it in front of me. Tempt me. This requires great courage. To talk to Yama like this requires great courage. So for the first time, Yama found a serious student, and now Yama sits down. Okay, sit down. Now I'll talk with you, he says. So there's the teaching begins. The whole Upanishad is a teaching based on this. So Yama, to begin with, says, Shreyascha Prayascha. There are two paths beckoning humankind. One is the path of material prosperity, the other is the path of spiritual flourish. You have to make a choice. You have to make a choice. And when you take the path of spiritual flourish, you can include the material prosperity also. If you simply for the material prosperity, then you miss the spiritual flourish. So initially, you have to make a choice. And also he says, so Shreyascha Prayascha. One is the path of Shreyas, the other is the path of Prayas. That's a technical word used. Or Vidyacha, Vidyacha. One is the path of meditation, the other is the path of material activity. One is the path of acquisition, the other path of sharing. So there are two paths, and it is for you to make a choice now. It all depends upon what choices you make, isn't it? Our whole life is built upon the choices we make. So be very careful, he says. Be a very reflective person. Every step of the way, you may have to make this choice. And most of the people, Yama says, avidyaya mandare vartamanaha, swayam dhira pandidam manyamanaha, dandramyamana pariyandi mudaha, Andheneva niyamanaya. Most of the people are blind, he says. Somnambulist, sleepwalkers, taking the shadow for the real. Most of the people. So Yama bemoans that human condition. That's why he said Uttishtada Jagrata. Avidyayamanta. Even the so-called scholars are spiritually ignorant, materially knowledgeable, but spiritually ignorant. We suffer from that. Avidyayamanta. It is a very, very sharp criticism of the modern life. Yama says, because Yama has seen all this. Avidyayamantare. Even the so-called scholars, they all are within the field of ignorance. And they think they know everything. And not only they think they know, they make others also think like them. Writing books and all that. They are already blind and they are leading other blind people also. That is it. It is a very sharp social criticism, the way we are living. And at the same time, unless you know it right now, in this body, in this life. So Yama says, he's very serious. You have to be very serious. Don't waste this life. Because very rarely you get this life. Don't waste it. That's what Yama says. Ihacheda vedita satyam asti. Nachayediha vedit mahadi vinasti. Otherwise, it's a great loss for us. We don't know when do we get this life. And yogo hi prabhavapyayo. And your discipline should be continuous, consistent. Not that once in a week you practice yoga. Yoga is a continuous exercise. Otherwise, it can come and go. Don't say, I am a yogi, now I can become a bhogi. You have to be yogi all the time. Yogo hi prabhavapyayo. It requires consistent daily practice. Adruvehi. So the main idea Yama highlights here. Adruvehi dhruvam na prapyade. What you seek is dhruvam. Something which is permanent, which cannot be gained by impermanent means. It has to be understood as an awakening. There is no path to that. It's a pathless path. There is no path from the dreaming to the waking, isn't it? Similarly, there is no path from this dreaming into the real waking. Na tarkena, not by logic. You cannot reach there by logic. Na pravajanena, not by giving a lot of talks. You can excite others, but it doesn't help you. Na bahuna sudena, not by reading many books and gathering ideas. Na medhaya, not by intellectual exercise, but sukshma buddhya, by a very subtle mind. Not a sharp mind, but a subtle mind. Adhyatma yogena, a mind which is turned toward the inner. Astityeva, and you also must have a fundamental, basic, a priori faith. There is something beyond this. I just cannot put my finger, but I feel it. That initial faith is very important because it all depends upon how you model the whole thing. If you begin with an understanding there is nothing beyond what I see, then no inquiry possible. So you must be blessed by this astitva buddhi. Astitva buddhi means there is something beyond, which is invisible, which is subtle. Then alone the inquiry will be. You would have the passion for it. You'll have the energy for that. Because you always come to a dead end, a cul-de-sac. Most of the time when we take this inquiry, you end up in sleep, isn't it? Or just give up. I'm tired. So you need a lot of energy, a lot of faith for this. Which is called a priori axioms are necessary. So, Sushma Buddhya, Astiteva Valabdeva, Kamaha Pramuchyande. Where the kamas are under your control, your desire is under your control. You are not pursuing your extrovert desires. Because you can see their limitations. Kamaha Pramuchyande. Your desires are reduced, minimal. Similarly, Hridayasya Grantayaha Prabudhyande, the knots of their heart has to break. What are the knots of the heart? Selfish desire, desire prompted activities, activities prompted sense of accomplishments, all this has to break. Dhatu prasadena, then you get the revelation. Then you get the blessing. Then the knowledge will shower upon you. Dhatu prasadena. So he says, though we say this cannot be gained by the mind, but the mind is necessary. So don't blow up your mind by drugs and whatnot. Drugs and sex and liquor and all that. Or entertainment, thrills of life. You need a very quiet mind. Then you get the revelation. It's a blessing. It's a real blessing. You have this understanding. Now Yama goes on explaining what is the self. There are a lot of slokas. Najayade mriyade vakadajit nayam buddha. So this is all a reflection upon, meditation upon our real self. So we have three types of understanding about the self. One is the transactional self, give and take self. Isn't it? Other is the contemplative self, watching self. Third is the transcendental, enlightened self. So the transactional self, give and take self is a samsari self, materialist. Contemplative self is a viveki self. We try to watch, reflect. And the transcendental self is the jnani self. So here is a contemplation upon the transcendental self. Najayade mriyade, doesn't die, nor is it born. Beyond birth and death. Najayade mriyadeva. Nayam kudaschidna bahuva bhaju. Doesn't come from anything, nor does it produce anything. Think of that. It's not a product of something, nor does it produce anything. Think of that. Acho nitya shashvadoyam purana. Acho nitya shashvadoyam purana. It is unborn, eternal, ever fresh. Na hanyade hanyamane sharire. When the body disintegrates, it doesn't disintegrate. Nobody can hurt you then. Once this understanding comes, nobody can hurt you. Nor do you have a desire to hurt anybody. You become totally non-violent. There is no fear, nor do you cause fear to anybody. You don't recoil from anything. You embrace everything. You are in a loving relationship with the whole world. That is the meaning of health. So Yama says all this. At the same time, Asinaha duram prajati. It is calm, but it is everywhere. It is still, but it is dancing. You know this language. It is still, it is dancing. Shayanaha yadi sarvasha. It is lying down, but it is travels everywhere. All this requires a lot of contemplation. Since my time is limited, I am just running you through all this. Madamadam devam. Madam amadam cha. Madam means it is very active. Amadam means it is very quiet. Quiet and active. quietly active. Actually, when you are quiet, then alone you can be really active. Otherwise, you are only reactive. Ashariram shariresu. It is the invisible in the visible, he says. Ashariram shariresu. Anavastesha avastido. It is the still center while the whole wheel is moving. Meditate on that. Madhvadam. He is the one who enjoys everything. Madhu. We all are suffering everything, isn't it? We all are suffering. Actually, it's meant for enjoyment. But we are suffering. It's the real. When you are in the transcendental state, you enjoy the whole drama. Otherwise, you suffer the whole thing. Madhudam vena. Yena rubam rasam gandham. It enjoys the whole sensative world, sitting quiet in the center. Maithunancha. Not only the sensative world, the interaction between mind and the world, it enjoys. Like when you enjoy a movie. Sapnandam jagaridam cha. And you also enjoy what happened in the theater of the waking world, theater of the sleep world, theater of the dream world. There are three theaters. And the self enjoys all this. All this you can read in the Katha Upanishad. Get the Katha Upanishad and read it. So he says, now people think that, I must to go there and try find the self. Upanishads, no, he says you have to be here and see the self. Yadeva iha imutra tadamutra. Yadeva iha tadamutra. Whatever you see here, through that you have to see that. Isn't it? Don't try to go there and leave this. Be here, be in this body, be in this world. Engage. You don't have to leave this world to reach there, he says. This is very tricky. This is very tricky. As I told you, to see the clay, you don't have to break the pot. While you are seeing the pot, you are seeing the clay also, isn't it? You don't have to run away from the world. Be in the world. Be active. And realize yourself. So, yadeva iha tadamutra. Yadamutra tadanu iha. Mrityoho saha mrityum gacchati. If you think I have to leave the world and the body to search the truth, then you are walking into the trap of death, he says. Be here and be everywhere. So, that again a kind of binary. You have to leave this and get something else. No, you have to be this and then find out. Okay, having said all this, now let us sit down and meditate. The Upanishad says. There are 4 meditation techniques are given. I have introduced you to all these meditation techniques. He says, Indriyebhya para, arthahartebhyascha para, manaha manasastu para, buddhi buddher atma mahan para, mahadap param avyaktam avyaktat purusha paraha purushanna param kinchida sakashta saparagati. Sit down and watch. Sense objects, sense organs, mind, intellect, ego, and collective intellect, collective idea. So go beyond all this. Watch all this. So going beyond means watching. It is not that you are walking away. You are watching, observing, all that. So there are 4 meditations are given in this Upanishad. Indriyebhya param manaha, manasas sattvam icchade. All you can read this. 4 types of meditations. Then he says, Yachedvam manasik prajnaha. Observe your speech, he says. Let the speech resolve in the mind. Let the mind resolve in the intellect. Let the intellect resolve in consciousness. All this is meditation. You can read that. And yada panchavatishthante jnanani manasasa. Then when the speech means the sound, the noise, the words and the images, all that. Watch them. Watch the mind. Watch your ideas and concepts. Watch your created identities. Beyond that, go. So there are 4 meditations are said in this Upanishad. Now another interesting thing is, which I forgot to tell you, and I'll take another 5 minutes from you. The whole thing is described as a metaphor here. The metaphor of Ratha, a chariot. Life is compared to a chariot ride. Atmanam ridhanam viddhi, shariram radhamevatu, buddhim tu saradim viddhi, mana pragrahamevacha, indriyani hayanahu, vishayasteshu gojaran, atmendriya manoyuktam, bhaktatyahurum manishna. Your body is like a chariot. Yourself is the Swami, the master of this chariot. Your intellect is the driver of the chariot. Your mind is the reins of the chariot. Your sense organs are the horses of the chariot. Your motor organ is the wheel of the chariot. And you, the ignorant guy, Atmendriya Manoyuktam, seated in the chariot. And when you are seated in the chariot, you're almost ignorant and don't know where are you going. And what is the path of the chariot? The sense objects. It's a very beautiful metaphor. Imagine yourself as a chariot, sitting in a chariot, driven by your intellect. So he says, if your intellect has got the viveka, know where to go, then you will reach your destination. The intellect knows where to go, then it will have a grip over the reins, the mind, your emotion. And when you grip over the rein, the horses will behave. Then you will be able to drive properly to Vishnoho Paramam Padam. If the intellect does not know, no viveka, no control over emotion, the horses become Dushtashva. The horses draw the chariot hither and thither, and you will reach your ruination, he says. So begin with the intellect. That is a software. You have to put some information. Then control the emotion. Then your senses will be under control. Then your sense organs, the motor organs will be under control. Then you can Vishnoho Paramam Padam, reach the ultimate destination of supreme bliss. The chariot. Very interesting metaphor. Reflect on that. Also he says, Ridham Bibando Sugradasilo. It seems that there are 2 individual entities in you. One is the observing self, other is active self. We are almost identified the active self and the consuming self. The observing self is missed. So keep the observing self all the time. It's like a headlight. Observing self. Don't get lost in the active self. One is the shadow, the other is the real. Both are living in the same body. There are 2 selves. But one self is forgotten. Other self. So keep that. And also says, Urdhamula Madhashagam. Your real roots are above, he says. In consciousness. And from consciousness, everything grows. Trigunas, Panchabhutas, Panchendriyas, all that. And finally, the Upanishad says, Natatra Suryo Bhadi, Nachandra Tarakam, Nema Vidyido Bhandi, Kudo Yamakri. There, in that state, you cannot see it with a torchlight, or a sunlight, or any other light. All other lights are because of that lighting. because that's the supreme light. That is your real nature. So, that's again one beautiful mantra in the Upanishad. Natra suryo bhati. Don't do it. When you do that arati, what are you saying? Natra suryo bhati nachandra tarakam nema vidyato bhati kudavayam agni. That is the source of all light. Your own consciousness is the source of it. You are that. Now the Upanishad says, this self manifests in many ways, in a very beautiful mantra. Hagumsa sujisad, vasurandariksasad, hoda vedisad, adididronasad, nrishad, varasad, vyomasad, abja, goja, rudaja, adrija, rudam, brihad. It's not interesting to hear that? This self is everywhere. Where are they? Hagumsa sujisad, as the sun, it glides across the sky. Vasurandariksha, as the wind, it moves in the antariksha. Hoda Vedi is the fire in your kitchen, in your stomach, in the yajnashala. Aditi dronasada, it is the liquor in the bottle, he says. Aditi means some, isn't it? Some of you are excited by that idea. It is a soma in the kalasha, he says. Or Aditi also can mean a guest. It's a guest in your house. That is what you are saying. Guest in your house. And then Nrishada, it is your breath. It is Varasada, it is what makes gods. Vyomasada, it is the moon in the sky, night sky. Abja, it is what all that is born of the water, occurring beings are its expression. Goja, whatever is growing in the earth, is expression. Rudaja, what is born of a yajna, is its gift. Adrija, whatever is coming from the mountain, it is its gift, like rivers and all that. Rudam Bahadur, it is manifold, it is expressed in manifold ways. Meaning the whole universe is the play of your consciousness. That's what you are. With that, Yama says, now the dialogue is over. Our transactions are over. And Yama sits. Nachiketa leaves. So this is the Katha Upanishad. Very exciting Upanishad. And get a book, Katha Upanishad, read it. And if you have any questions, you can write to me, you can email me. I'll be happy to answer your questions based upon the Upanishad. It's a very, very powerful Upanishad. And next Saturday, I'll be taking up 6 questions asked by 6 rishis to Pippalada. Pippalada is a super rishi. He lives out just eating fruits, nothing else. You can count his bones. So to that Pippalada, these 6 scholars go and ask 6 life-changing questions. That will be the theme of next lecture. It's called Prashna Upanishad. The great questions of life. Thank you very much. Hari Om. I took a lot of your time, but I couldn't help you. Thank you once again.